Welcome to Oulton Park, which plays host to the opening rounds of the 2019 Maximum Networks Volkswagen Racing Cup. The championship that caters, it's a one-make championship, but you get lots of different varieties of VAG Group cars entered into the championship, everything from Golfs to Scirocco's, and even the odd Audi as well. The Audi TTs of the Oulton pair back for another season this year. A big crowd on hand, soaking up the Easter sunshine here at Oulton Park. So Brett Smith and Simon Walton make up the front row of the grid. Josh Coggan is next in line. He finished just outside the top 10 in the points last year. Lewis Smith alongside him. Former mini racer Mark Wakefield is fifth, with Russell Joyce making up the third row with him. Then it's Owen Walton in the second of the Audis, with Martin Depper's Scirocco alongside. And then that diesel Scirocco of Darryl Wilson is on the fifth row with Jack Depper the younger, rounding out the top 10. Dan Crossley and Jeff Alden are next. Jeff has made the switch from the Renault UK Clio Cup. Then Rob Allam and Mark Steele are together on the seventh row of the grid. Row number 8 next up will be Mark Smith and Matt Evans as in a pair of Scirocco's as we get towards the tail end of the field now. Next, Richard Gilbert and Tony Prendergast, with Michael Jones's Golf bringing up the rear of the field. So, as I said, Michael Jones, one of several drivers actually making their sort of first steps into this level of motor racing at least. There's a definite step up from true clubby racing to these slightly higher budget but slightly higher profile championships as well. BW Racing Cup been going for quite some time now and has produced some real stars and drivers who have gone on to achieve big things in touring car racing and GT racing as well. It is one of those championships that's a nice intermediary stepping stone, and drivers can often make their mind up after they've competed in the VW Cup as to whether they want to go down the touring car or the GT racing route. Now there is a slow car, I fear, there, which is car number 24, Lewis Smith, who was due to line up on the outside of row number 2, but the green and white Scirocco pulling out of everybody's way and waving the field through. So clearly some sort of mechanical malady has struck the 24 car here on the green flag lap, and one hopes that he can either make it back to the pit lane or pull over in a safe position, because if he can't do either of those things, then the car will be in the way and we may have to have a delayed start. We don't want that. We want to get racing underway as soon as we can, but I haven't seen him re-emerge into shot there. There is a cut through down at Knickerbrook into which he may be able to pull, and there's a gap in the barrier that can protect the car. It's got about a minute or so, I think, to get to a safe place. Oh no, there he is. He has taken the chicane. That really was probably the worst thing he could have done, because if the car conks out now, it'll be right in the middle of the road. Will he pull to the left out of the way, or will he continue to try and go up Clay Hill? I think it's the former. Yes, he's pulling off the road now, and this is where that gap in the barrier is that I mentioned. So he'll pull off well out of the way. But that's a shame for Lewis Smith, fourth on the grid, and looking to potentially get himself a podium in his first race in the championship. But Lewis will be a non-starter here, and of course the reason that he was so desperate to get the car back to the pit lane is because the team then would have had a little bit longer to get it fixed and to try and figure out what the problem is, because they have another race coming up towards the end of the day at about 5:20, so not a huge turnaround, only about 4 hours before they'll be gridding up for their second race of the day. And Lewis Smith would have liked to have got the car back to the garage, so the team could have had a bit more time to spend fixing whatever the drama is, but it's not to be. He'll have to sit and watch from the sidelines, along with the tens of thousands of spectators who have flocked to Oulton Park in Cheshire for this Easter Monday race meeting. So the red lights are on. We're about to go racing in 2019 with Brett Smith and Simon Walton sharing the front row. Good start made by Smith from pole position. Did Josh Coggan go into second place? He's going to the race lead. Josh Coggan out of nowhere goes up the middle of both the front row men, and the Golf will lead. And Oldhall gets a headbutt though from Depper and from Brett Smith, excuse me. And Brett Smith tried to get back through, couldn't quite do it. It will be Coggan from Smith from either Walton or Mark Wakefield. Mark Wakefield in the white roof Golf going around the outside of the Audi TT through Cascades Corner. So yeah, Simon Walton didn't get off the line particularly well. His son Owen though is not far behind him. He's maintained position from the start. What a dramatic start it was. Josh Coggan leads the way from a loose bumpered Brett Smith. That's as a result of the headbutt that he gave the white Golf as they went through Oulton corner. Hopefully that won't attract the attention of the clerk of the course and require him to come to the pit lane to get it removed or fixed. Through Shell, down towards Britons for the first time of asking, and Josh Coggan, I was going to say getting away, but actually Brett Smith starting now to bridge that gap again. Oulton third of the Simon variety, with Mark Wakefield from 5th up to 4th as a result, of course, of the non-start for Lewis Smith. Down the hill towards Hislop's, the lead gap definitely coming down now, so Josh Coggan perhaps a little bit less confident on cold tyres. He got a great launch though, found the biting point of the clutch perfectly, and found a gap, which is not the easiest thing to do on the narrow start-finish straight at Oulton Park. He did find a gap, went through into the race lead, and is not yet able to escape. There is Dan Crossley in the 37 car. He's got Jeff Alden, the Clio Cup graduate, behind him, and it's game on for the race lead now. Brett Smith has started to, well, not just started to, he has reeled in Josh Coggan. As I said, in qualifying, Brett Smith was 7/10 quicker than everybody else. He was actually a full second quicker than Coggan, and he's making that pace known now because he dives up the inside line and retakes the race lead. So he led at the start, he leads at the end of the first lap, but his first lap actually is quite the story to tell because there was a lot that went on in between the 2 points, but he is back out in front now, and Brett Smith will try to make good his escape. Based upon his qualifying pace, he ought to be able to do that, but Josh Coggan's enthusiasm into Oulton corner knows no bounds. He closes back in again onto the tail of the green Scirocco. So 3 different shapes of cars in the top 3, technically 4 different shapes of cars in the top 4, because Mark Wakefield is running the older generation Golf, Josh Coggan in the new shape machine. Goes to show that the performance balancing that goes on behind the scenes between all the different cars is working well. You've got Scirocco, the new shape Golf, the TT from the old shape Golf, and then Darrell Wilson, who's come up from 9th on the grid, which became 8th with the demise of Lewis Smith, into 5th already, and you'll see perhaps the odd bit of black smoke coming from the back of the number 50 car. Nothing to worry about, that's just because it's a diesel, and there was a period of time, about 10 years or so ago, where diesels were winning international sports car races, and even at that level, a whiff or two of black smoke was not uncommon. There is Martin Depper in the number 30 car. Always entertaining to watch is Martin. He's 8th position now, which is exactly where he started the race. That's because Russell Joyce, no, not Russell Joyce, Owen Walton has got ahead of him off the line, having started behind. So starting to settle down into a rhythm now. There is Russell Joyce. In fact, he is one of the newer shaped Golfs, just in front of the grey machine of Martin Depper. His son Jack is 12th at the end of the opening lap, as you can see from the graphic on the left-hand side of your screen. No doubt about the race leader, it is Brett Smith out in front. I have to say though, I sort of expected to see him pull a bit more of a gap here in the early stages, but Josh Coggan is very much staying with him, and it's often the case that you can't read too much into qualifying times, because oftentimes some drivers are better racers than qualifiers. Maybe they'll have made some setup changes since this morning's qualifying session. They've had plenty of time to do so. Whatever it is that Josh Coggan has done between races, it is working, because he's every bit as quick as the race leader right now. Back down the lakeside straight they go. And indeed he is closer now, I'd say, to the race leader than Simon Walton is to him. So the first 2 cars starting to pull away slightly. Simon Walton in no man's land rather than third. It's an odd line for Brett Smith to be taking. That's either an uber defensive line, or maybe he thought he had an issue with the car there, but pulled back into the sort of more traditional line through Island Bend. The Golf seems a bit quicker through there though. Now of course we've got this damage to the front of Brett Smith's car, haven't we? And that may well be hampering Brett's pace here, because the car understeers wide again through the Shell hairpin. Josh Coggan senses an opportunity here, I think, to get back in front. He maybe didn't make life too difficult for Brett on the opening lap when Brett came steaming back through, but now that Josh is realising he's got every bit the same sort of pace as the race leader, he's very much trying to find a way back into that race lead. Down the hill they go, one headlight ablaze for Josh Coggan's car. Both lights on the front of Brett Smith's car working, despite the damage that he sustained after contact with the man behind him at the first corner. Josh Coggan, I'm sure, will not have forgotten about that. Damage to the back of Coggan's car. No, his car appears to have survived that little skirmish in one piece. Find a way through into the race lead here. Josh most certainly will go for it. He had a full season campaign last year, but rather too many non-finishes. Indeed, 5 races in which Josh failed to see the checkered flag last year. So above all else, he'll have that in the back of his mind, thinking, you know what, second place is better than ending up in the kitty litter or in the barriers or with a damaged car. it's all too easy to get into, to get so engrossed in the idea of winning the race that you sort of throw caution to the wind and end up bringing back a bag of bits to the team back in the paddock. He really does need to make sure that he keeps this car in one piece so that he's got a good chance of scoring some points a bit later on in race 2 as well. So no change in the order across the top 10 for the time being. And then just outside the top 10, we do have a change because Jack Depper has got himself ahead of Jeff Oulton into 11th position. Jeff Oulton drops down into P12 as a result then. Josh Coggan, though, very quick off Cascades. And this time around, Brett Smith really does feel the need to just move over to the left-hand side of the road just to dissuade the second-placed man from making a lunge at Island Bend. Really, though, it's the next corner, Shell, where the move could be made, and Josh Coggan thought about it. Brett Smith saw it coming again, though, moved to the right-hand side of the road, got to the apex first. Josh Coggan, though, looking the quicker of the two here, out of Shell, down to Britons once again. The green Sirocco holding on to the race lead by the skin of his teeth here, despite the battling, though, and the element of defensive driving being used here by the race leader. They are still continuing to gap Simon Walton in third. He's now 1.7 seconds back, well, he wasn't the line anyway. In fact, he's going up again over the course of this lap, because it was a fastest lap last time around for Josh Coggan, the race leader. Sorry, the second place man, and he's just set the outright fastest first sector on this lap as well. So he is continuing to gap the third place car, getting ever closer to the tail of the race leader into the pedestrian bridge at Clay Hill. There are the third, fourth and fifth place cars going through. And Darrell Wilson in fifth position now, ahead of Owen Walton. On the previous lap, actually wasn't quite as quick as Mark Wakefield in front of him, so Darrell may well have found his gap in the line now in fifth, although I'd say on this lap the gap is coming down slightly between the two cars there in your shot. Mark Wakefield with the grey front and the green highlights, and the all-green machine of the DW Racing diesel car behind. Then side by side for sixth position as Russell Joyce, perhaps unbelievably, goes right around the outside of Owen Walton. I paused then because I was certain that wasn't going to work, but it almost has actually. Owen Walton coming back at him though as they go towards Old Hall Corner. The Audi will have the inside line with the quick right-hander, but the momentum will be with Russell around the outside. He's not averse to going around the outside, and he proves it once again by finally sweeping through and making the move stick. So sixth place now belongs to Russell Joyce, and Martin Depper, the grey machine, is starting to join in the fun as well, to the inside of Cascades. Owen Walton had just enough in hand, though, to fend off the former British touring car star for the time being, but Martin Depper, with a better run out of Cascades, will no doubt be looking to attack again at the next sequence of corners. There's a nice little battle pack, though, for sixth position. Russell is about 3.5 seconds though behind the top 5. We'll watch his lap times with interest now as Martin Depper makes that look rather easy. I wonder whether maybe Owen Walton's got some sort of a problem here, because the occasionally troublesome Audis, they have had the odd mechanical drama in the past. I fear this is not really Owen's true pace. He's usually a bit quicker than this, so possibly some sort of a problem here for the younger of the Walton pair. His father, though, is still in a podium position, and about 3 seconds off the race lead now, out 1.3 seconds ahead of the Wakefield and Darrell Wilson scrap. This is the battle for your race leads. We approach half race distance then, 20 minutes of action, 2 20-minute races today for the Maximum Networks Volkswagen Racing Cup. Leaders through Druids, then Simon Walton third, Wakefield fourth. Darrell Wilson's dropped right back. There's been an issue somewhere along the line, I would venture, for Matt Evans, and there's also been an issue for Russell Joyce, who had very briefly got himself into sixth place and has now thrown that all the way down to the chicane. Now, whether he jumped or whether he was pushed, I know not, but we'll try and find out for you if we can. The number 99 car is also starting to, sorry, 89, excuse me. Rob Allen is starting to make progress. He's onto the tail now of Owen Walton, who is fading. So I reckon we'll see quite a few changes of position on that lap. Then the leader's not changed hands, but behind them it's all been going on because, yes, Owen Walton dropping down the order. He drops from 6th to 7th, and Russell Joyce is going to drop 5 or 6 positions, I fear, after that off down at Hislops. He's outside the top 10 now, according to my timing screen, and possibly with an issue with the car as a result of the grassy excursion. Cascades comes the 91 car of Owen Walton, who lost a place and then gained it straight back again on the previous lap. But Allen behind him, Rob Allen, started 13th in the 89 machine, is now into 8th, and with a good shot here, I'd say, going to 7th place ahead of Oulton. So it goes to show that you really don't, you can't read too much into those qualifying times. They do seem to have remarkably little relevance on the order in which we'll see them at the end of the race, because there's been a lot of shuffling already in this one. And despite the fact Brett Smith started on pole and is still leading the race, I think he's about the only driver who is still in their starting position. Everybody else has been up and down like a bit of a yo-yo so far. Through Britons goes Alan, and behind him is Dan Crossley, who is getting ever larger in his mirrors as well. There you can see the grey and fluorescent yellow Scirocco. And then behind them is Tony Prendergast, who came from 18th on the grid in his Scirocco. So quite a few drivers taking advantage of other people's issues early on here to start to claw their way back up the field. Russell Joyce, you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, rejoined in 13th after his off. So we'll watch for some more exciting overtaking from the Golf as it tries to pick its way back into the top 10. Leaders then through Lodge Corner. Josh Coggan just dropping back slightly from Brett Smith on this lap. In the first sector, Brett was a 10th quicker. In the second sector, he was 2/10 quicker. And over the course of the lap, that equates to about 3/10 or so of an advantage and a new fastest lap, in fact, for the race leader, Brett Smith. A 1:51.257. The margin now just under 1.3 seconds. It's a further 3.8 back, though, to Simon Walton in third. Mark Wakefield a second and a half behind him in fourth. And then 6 seconds back now to Darrell Wilson, whose lap times have dropped off to the tune of 3 seconds. So I fear that Darrell Wilson may be nursing some sort of an issue himself here. Martin Depper is now within 3 seconds of him, so that could be one of the next battles to keep your eye on. There's Matt Evans looking up the inside and almost getting into the side of Mark Steele. I think Mark saw him coming at the last second, but the rolling remains of Matt Evans' Scirocco gains a position that will put him into 15th place, actually gained 2 spots on that lap. He also found a way past Mark Smith, who now in turn dives up the inside of a perhaps slightly rattled Mark Steele. Was a robust move made at Lodge Corner. I suppose when you've already got almost every body panel hanging loose on your car, there's no harm in getting your elbows out even further. This yo-yoing gap at the front of the field just doesn't know what to do with itself, does it? Because it's come down by another 10th now in the first sector of this lap. The middle sector ends on the run up Clay Hill, so just as they go underneath the bridge, we should get the next readout of sector times. It looks like Coggan's dropped back again now. 53.2 for the leader, a 53.4 for Coggan in second. So it went down by a 10th in the first sector, up by a 10th in the second sector, and it looks as though maybe setup wise or just the slightly different characteristics of the Scirocco against the Golf may be providing different strengths and weaknesses in different areas of the circuit where Brett Smith is excelling, and then in other areas maybe Josh Coggan has the edge. Certainly Josh seems to have good commitment and good speed through the high speed parts of the circuit, maybe not getting off the tighter corners quite so well. And so by the end of the lap, what was a 1.2 second gap is now nearly 1.7. So yeah, Josh Coggan, despite closing in at the start of that 7th tour of the lap, has actually dropped back by the end of it. What's left of Matt Evans' car is continuing to make progress, though. He's now on the tail of Richard Gilbert. This is the fight for 14th position. There's some 8.5 seconds or so, though, behind Russell Joyce, so this is likely to be as high up the order as Matt Evans goes, and so you don't really need to be rushing this map. He goes for the opportunity at the first chance, and there's contact made at Druids, and, well, I'm sure that will mean we have a rather disgruntled Richard Gilbert, because Druids is not an obvious overtaking opportunity, and the second apex of Druids even less so. Let's have a look at it again. So you often do miss the first apex there so as to concentrate on the exit speed, and that's what Gilbert did. It opened the door for Evans. He got to the inside at the second part, but he was clearly quicker. He had lots of time left to make the move. I'm not convinced that was maybe the best place to do it, but anyway, he's gone through, and there'll be a discussion later on, I'm sure. I think, based on the appearance of Matt Evans' car, he may have a few discussions to have after the race, because he's clearly been in the wars with someone or something, and the rear end of that car is not in showroom condition. Unfortunately, neither is the rear end of Richard Gilbert's car now. I did see a bit of tyre smoke suggesting that the rear right bodywork is fouling against the rear right tyre, and there's only ever going to be one winner in that situation, and it's sure as anything won't be the rubber. So the team bringing him in just to make sure that they can get the bodywork off the tyre and ensure that he's able to continue without causing any more damage to it. Leaders were 2.7 seconds apart at the end of the second sector this time, so I think that Josh Coggan has probably had to settle for second place here. He's still got a decent margin over Simon Walton in third place. There's Darrell Wilson, and he's got Martin Depper back alongside him. Now, Martin actually drove that car a few times last year, and I seem to remember ended up with the barriers at that very corner, Lodge Corner, here back in the summer. But he's now on the attack and trying to get past the diesel car. The very torquey diesel engine in the green stroker means that Darrell's getting off the corner as well, but I don't think it's handling quite right through the turns, and so Martin Depper is able to take advantage. He moves into the top 5, so been an entertaining race for Martin, as they tend to be. He's moved from 8th to 5th, but there's been quite a lot of shuffling in between as well, I think. His gap to Mark Wakefield, though, is something like 8.1 seconds, so unlikely that he's going to improve on that, unless the likes of Mark or any of the top 3 hit dramas late in the going. In fact, it looks as though Darrell Wilson was thinking about fighting back there. That car very quick in a straight line with its diesel engine, but the extra weight may be hurting his speed through some of the tighter sections of this Oulton Park circuit. There are certain tracks that suit diesel engine cars. I'm not convinced Oulton Park is one of them. That, unfortunately, looks like the end of the race for Tony Prendergast, who had been doing fairly well, actually. He was in 12th place when that car suddenly slowed down. And that is Mark Wakefield. Mark Wakefield going slow down. I literally just said that Martin Depper wasn't likely to gain any more ground unless Mark Wakefield had an issue. And he's had an issue. Now, has he been off? I suggest he might have been, because the car appears to be almost back to full pace now. We'll try and again pick up on what's gone on there, but Mark Wakefield has potentially just dropped out of a top 5 position. Through Druid's corner, just one more turn to go. Now, take it easy, Brett. We've seen races lost at the final corner here at Lodge over the years at Oulton Park. And Brett just needs to bring it home. Oh, that's a shame. Number 19, Jeff Oulton. His first VW Cup race ends at the side of the road on the final lap. But for Brett Smith, damaged car and all, he is going to come home a race winner in round number 1 of the Maximum Network's Volkswagen Racing Cup. He is your first winner of the season by a very, very comfortable margin in VW Racing Cup terms. 7.1 seconds, the eventual winning margin that he had in hand over Josh Coggan in second. Simon Walton will be on the podium. He'll be a little disappointed having started second, but it's still not been a bad race for him, a fairly quiet race in the end. And Martin Depper, anything but a quiet race. He comes through from 8th on the grid to finish in 4th position at the flag. Then it will be then it will be Darrell Wilson, excuse me, who rounds out the top 5, except it won't, because Owen Walton comes through 5th. Where has Darrell Wilson gone? There's Darrell. That's the exit of Knickerbrook, so he's pulled off, I think. We saw that the pace was going away slightly in the second half of the race. Maybe that was a precursor to whatever the eventually terminal mechanical problem was, but he cheers on Brett Smith, though, who is the victor in our opening race of the season, and he takes the win by over 7 seconds in the end from Josh Coggan second, then a further 10 seconds back to Simon Walton third, Martin Depper 4th, and Owen Walton inherits a top 5 on the last lap. Darren Crossley is 6th, Jack Depper in 7th place on the grid, having started 10th. 8th place for Russell Joyce, so he did get back into the top 10 after his excursion at Hislops from Matty Evans, and rounding out the top 10, the great 9 car of Ron Allen. An entertaining old race, though, and it started right from the word go, with Josh Coggan making a great start to leap from 3rd to 1st at the first corner. He received a headbutt from Brett Smith going through Old Hall Corner. That damaged the front of Smith's car, but didn't appear to slow him down, because by the end of the first lap, he had retaken a race lead that he would not give up again until the flag. Coggan, though, kept him in order for the remainder of the race, at least until about the 2/3 race distance. He stayed right on the tail of the race-leading car, but eventually Brett was able to pull out a commanding lead. Behind him, Russell Joyce was providing much of the mid-race entertainment with a spectacular round-the-outside pass on a fading Owen Walton at Lodge Corner. Unfortunately, Russell would have a moment later on. Speaking of moments, this was the moment that befell Richard Gilbert and Matt Evans at Druid's Corner. A discussion about that post-race, no doubt. Left the number 2 car with a little bit of damage. Brett Smith, though, overcame a slightly understeery car in the closing stages to take the first victory of the year in the Maximum Network's Volkswagen Racing Cup. He'll be looking to do the double later on this afternoon.